Welcome to the Pub Sports Radio College Basketball Closing Time Show for Wednesday, January 20th. Ian Cameron, Conor Mack with you, ready to break down the college basketball slate. Step in the right direction last night for me, baby steps in the right direction. It wasn't like we crushed it last night, but I think we got out of the night with like something like 7-5, profitable. I'll take it after what's been a tough last few days. So hopefully thing we can build on here for the rest of this card moving forward here. So let's get down to business here with the college basketball slate for this Wednesday. We've got East Tennessee State taking on Western Carolina. We've got ETSU 1.5 point road favorites in this game, 146.5 the total here. We got a guest here. No, we don't. Okay. That's all right. It was Boston Nick. He just is doing some things in the background. What happened? What? You went. We've got. Is there another thing on this channel now?
There's the UFC's going on.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And did this knock them off the air? Us doing this?
No, it shouldn't have. They can do two at the same time.
That's what I thought. Like we've done two shows at the same time before.
Yeah. The main event's on right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty positive. What's the chat say? Everything fine?
Great. All right. I don't know, but
maybe Nick came in. He jumped out and came in the wrong one.
Okay. No, that's what I was told. You can do multiple streams at the same time because I knew they were doing the UFC live show, which is still going on because I got the main event on in the background here. Magny and PSR are fighting right now in the main event. But anyway, we'll move on. ETSU and Western Carolina. This is an interesting game. I'll tell you what, these SoCon games, they've gone over the total at a pretty good clip in the past. And I've been riding a lot of these teams. Like we're going to get to a few of these games in this conference that I think are going to be higher scoring. This is one of them. ETSU, they found their offense in recent games. You look at their recent results for this East Tennessee State squad. You know, early in the season, you were wondering about them offensively, but back-to-back, actually the last four games, they've scored 86, 71, and then 92 in their last game against VMI. Western Carolina, they're shaky defensively. They've lost 3 in a row and given up 86, 78, and 82, in those games. I thought the total being in the mid-140s here was a little bit light considering what we've seen of these two teams lately shooting the basketball. So I'm on ETSU and Western Carolina over 146.5 current number in this one. Conor, what do you think about ETSU Western Carolina?
My bad. I guess I knocked him out. I got out. I have no idea. I went on to say hi and just left. And I just left the stream, jumped out, and, because I was coming on here. I don't know.
Saying we started and it ended their shit, man. What the hell? That's not supposed to happen.
I don't know either.
Oh, man, the main event's just
you get it back. Hold on.
No.
Let me write this real quick.
Yeah. StreamYard, why are you doing this? Oh, man, the main event's just starting of this card, too.
It's okay. I might have hit the wrong button, but I just tried to exit.
Yeah, because we're gonna keep the show rolling, guys, in just a second. But apparently there's been some technical snafus here because I know the UFC show is going.
Okay, I just tried to get out of there, to come on here. I just went on to say hi, like, hey guys, what's up? And I just meant to go off. I didn't mean to end the stream. Maybe I hit the wrong button.
Okay. Because
maybe that's my fault.
A brand new stream, and again, with these YouTube channels, you can do multiple live shows and streams at the same time.
Exactly.
It's got to be some other thing. Whatever.
It must have been me, maybe. Anyways, let's get to it. East Tennessee
Hopefully they get
State.
back on the air. What a fucking time to get knocked. The main event's just started.
They're back on. They can start one real quick. I know.
Right.
My bad. I didn't mean to do that.
By the way, if you guys want to watch the live, the main event and with them on the air, go for it. Because again, you can tune back in, and this show is archived. So if you want to watch the guys take you through the Chiesa Magny main event, you can do that.
Yeah, they'll be back on, and they're probably already back on. Anyway,
all right.
Okay. East Tennessee State, Western Carolina. Man, I fucked it up. Yeah. Okay. Can they redo it? I just tried to get out of the stream. Anyways, Western Carolina, I'd lean with them, but this was one of the ones I totally want nothing to do with. East Tennessee State hasn't proved anything to be favored, I don't think, at 1.5. And I'd maybe look towards the over a little bit at 147. That's all I have on this one.
All right, there we go. Pass for Conor on that one. All right, now I think we'll settle in and get rolling here. VCU and St Bonaventure. St Bonaventure 2-point home favorites, 139.5 the total. You know what? This line is cheap on St Bonaventure, in my opinion. I think this line is being anchored down a little bit because people think VCU for the last several years, they've been a good team going way back to when Shaka Smart coached this team. Yeah, they're still a pretty decent basketball. They are 10-3. Yeah, they're more than decent. They're a good team. But I think going on the road facing this Bonaventure team has been outstanding overall, 6-1, 3-0 at home. I like what I've seen out of Bonaventure, and this home court's been very, very strong for them this season. I think they're going to take care of business here. You look at VCU, they're certainly playing good basketball, no question, but the numbers caught up to them. They have failed to cover in 3 straight. You look at recent results, they barely beat George Mason. They lose by 15 against Rhode Island, 83-68. And then in the last game against George Washington, who have been a wildly erratic team in the A-10 this year, they escaped with a 7-point win. I think they're in tough here. I like this St. Bonaventure team. They've played excellent basketball, and this home court's a tough one to win at. And you look at the way the Rams have gone 1-7 against the spread last 8 road games against teams with a winning home record. They have not stepped up in class against teams of this magnitude at home, or on the road, I should say. I'm going to go with Bonaventure here, and Bonaventure over the total here, 139.5 as well. I think it gets into the 140s, but I like this St. Bonaventure team to get the win. I laid the money line, which is around minus 130 instead of laying the 2 points. C-Mac, what do you think about this one?
I'm with you. I'm on St. Bonaventure here. I think it's a short number. I haven't been impressed with VCU, and I think they're a young team, but they're just not ready yet. I don't think they're very good. And St. Bonnie here at a short number at 2, I like it. They're one of my topper plays today. I like, so take St. Bonnie in the 2, -2
all right,
at home.
Liking St. Bonaventure here. Rhode Island, Duquesne. Rhode Island 4.5 point road favorites, 136 the total in this one. I have a lean to Duquesne here, plus 4.5, but it's not something super strong. Rhode Island's been, a little bit erratic, a little bit up and down, inconsistent. Only 1-4 against the spread on the road as well. This Rhode Island Rams team. On the flip side, you've got Duquesne. They've been struggling a little bit, but more than anything, Rhode Island, a team I'm not necessarily in love with laying points with on the road. Remember, the last time they were laying points on the road, they were playing a team that was worse than Duquesne. UMass, they lost in overtime, 80-78. So, Rhode Island's a good basketball team with Fats Russell and company, but laying 4.5, not something I love doing here. I didn't bet it, but if I had to throw out a lean, it would be to the Duquesne Dukes as a home underdog here. C-Mac, anything for you in this A-10 matchup?
I thought about that because I had that bad loss with Rhode Island as small favorites, but I'm going to go back with them here in -4. Duquesne just can't score, 48, 48, 48. St. Bonaventure, they can't get past 50. So these last 3, they can't score at all. Well, I think they'll get past 48 tonight. I got to go with Rhode Island here. It's a little dicey, these small road favorites, in these spots, but I think just Fats Russell, they got the better offense. I think they'll be able to win this one. Could be close, but I think they can cover the 4 over Duquesne. Duquesne just doesn't have it this year. They just don't have the offense. They're real slow down. I think Rhode Island can get the win and cover here. All
right, liking Rhode Island -4. On we go. Next up, we've got Clemson, Georgia Tech in the ACC. Clemson 1.5 to 2-point road favorites, 127.5 to 129 the total. I hope they keep betting Clemson. At some point, I might get interested here in Georgia Tech, as a home underdog. I'm just not still a firm believer in the Clemson Tigers, especially laying points on the road. I'm just not. It's a team that defensively they're solid, but offensively that's where the woes come in. is being able to trust them to score enough on the road to win. You look at their 2 ACC road games, Conor, look at the results. 66-60 loss to Virginia Tech, only shoot 19 of 50. 66-65 win at Miami. They only shoot 26 of 59. This is not a team that's offensively trustworthy, in my opinion, laying points on the road. 85-50 loss their last game against Virginia, who completely suffocated them at the offensive end of the floor. They've actually gone over the total in 4 straight games, and the reason for that is because their defense suddenly has eroded the last few games for Clemson. That could be trouble here against Georgia Tech. They're coming off 2 back-to-back home wins against North Carolina. Nice home win there as underdogs, and then they pound Wake Forest 70-54 in their last game. They have a home win against Kentucky on their resume. And you look at Clemson, 0-2 ATS on the ACC road. That's their track record going into this team. Georgia Tech, I'm interested. I wasn't going to bet it initially because I do think Clemson is a little bit better team. But now with +2 showing up, I might be biting on the Yellow Jackets here and dare this Clemson team to win and cover on the road, which has been difficult for them in conference play. I agree with the totals move as well down in this game. This has the makings of a very low scoring back and forth defensive grind type of game. Georgia Tech doesn't mind playing that way, that's for sure. I think we'll see points to be a few and far between here. Conor, what do you like here with Clemson, Georgia Tech?
I got to go. I know a lot of people like Clemson. This is a bounce back spot. But now that I see it's a little bit more of the 2, I'd really like if it was 3. But I like Tech here a little bit. I know they've had the long layoff. Clemson's had a hard time scoring. I just don't like their offense just isn't very good. Now they can play defense. But I got to lean the few points with Georgia Tech at home. They could be a little bit rusty. And Clemson just hasn't been the same team at home as they are on the road. They're not very good. They've been better on their home court. So give me Tech here. I like them getting +2 at home.
All right, we've got Mercer taking on the Citadel. That layoff, by the way, does concern me a little about Tech. That's why it's lukewarm, and I haven't bet it yet. I'm going to need +2, more, maybe even 2.5, 3 to pull the trigger, but I'm definitely leaning against this line move toward Clemson. Next up, we've got Mercer Citadel. Mercer -8. Road favorites, 174.5, 175 the total. Numbers are starting to catch up to the Citadel. They had been on a really good point spread run. They finally don't cover the last game. And also the total. I mean, I've been riding a bunch of overs with the Citadel, but now we're seeing a pretty steep adjustment made. We're talking mid-170s with this total, 175. So you need a great deal of pace, which you're going to get in this game. These are 2 fast-paced teams. These are 2 excellent, they'll shoot up the first shot they get. You're going to get that, but you're going to need that and then some to get over 175. I still wouldn't bet it under. It's just a question of value. And you look at Mercer's games, 163, 163. They're not 175 type range yet, but look at some of these Citadel games. 176, 179, 186. They had the 100, and it's hard to get a college basketball game with 213 points in it. But the Citadel and VMI hit 213 points 4 days ago. And finally, they had a game stay under. The last game against NC Greensboro, 160 points. Before that, it had been 5 straight overs, all of them in the 170s, 180s or higher. It could still get there. Don't get me wrong. It could. It's just very, very high total, but I would only look over, but it's getting up there. I think if you bet it early, because this opened around 171. Yes, it did. 171 up to 175. 171 is a great number. 171, 172. I'm definitely looking over. 175.5. Maybe got to pump the brakes just a little bit, but I'd be scared to death to bet an under with Citadel. No question. C-Mac, what do you think here? Mercer, the Citadel.
Yeah, this is like 175. Well, I think you can get there. That's crazy. I mean, I don't.
Huge number.
You going to bet this over? Are you going to bet this over?
I wouldn't bet it under. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, okay. I didn't know if you had a bet on it. I like Mercer, the side, a little bit, but now that it's up to 8, I don't know. Citadel, other than their last game against Chattanooga, have hung around. And Mercer, well, I think they're the better team. They haven't been impressive at all to me. And they haven't had any real big wins, like blowout wins. if you go through some of their wins here. So I had to pass on this one right away. I think Mercer's the better team, but Citadel's at home, and they just keep coming and scoring and scoring. And if you can keep scoring, you can get a cover. Weirdly, lose by 5 or something. So, or maybe even keep this close and win it. Citadel's been strange. I think Mercer wins it, but right away I was on them, but they got steamed up to 8. I'm going to pass on this one.
Yeah, and by the way, BartTorvik.com, they project 182 points, and they're good with their projections. They're not always dead on, but especially from a total standpoint, they think 92-90 could be the score. So there could be some wiggle room over this total. Like I said, I would only look over, even though this number is really high. Look, you got two teams that are top 40 in pace. You've got two teams that are top 100 in offensive efficiency. You've got the 260 and 336 defensive efficiency teams in the country. So they're not very good defensively, either team. And they're going to shoot well. And they're going to play extremely fast. That's why this total could still end up being eclipsing. This game could still end up eclipsing this total. Loyola Chicago, Valpo. We've got Loyola Chicago. 11.5-point road favorites, 131 the total in this game. Loyola Chicago just playing some excellent basketball for the most part here in the Mountain West. Really, they've taken well to the Mountain West since they moved over here, and they continue to get the job done. They've been excellent here in conference play, and they've still managed to cover these big numbers. 3 straight covers as 8-point favorites or more against Indiana State and back-to-back against Northern Iowa. Valpo, I can't back them here. I mean, as much as they're getting a lot of points, they're 0-4 straight up in ATS coming into this game. Losses by 14, 13, 10, 19 in their last game at DePaul. They're losing by double-digit margins every game lately. And it's got that sense to me that could come close to the number, but not enough to take Valpo here. I'd lean slightly to the road chalk Ramblers of Loyola Chicago here, but just a lean. C-Mac, what do you think of this one in the Missouri Valley?
Yeah, I go with Loyola here a little bit. Valpo's just bad. That loss to DePaul, oof. This DePaul team, this Valpo team is just not very good.
Nope.
This year, and over the last probably 15 years, they've been pretty good basketball, but the only thing is I think Loyola gets it. I just don't want to lay 11.5 on the road in this spot. I think they cover. If it was flipped maybe at home, I feel a little bit better, but I'd lean with Loyola in this one, the 11.5. Just a small lean.
Yeah, that's the way I feel. It would be a small lean. I'd prefer laying the points than taking them in that game. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Furman and VMI. We've got Furman, 11.5-point road favorites, 160 the total. I hit this over initially. I still like it at 160. We have lost value. It's up 4 points from where it opened at 156, but I still like the over. The Paladins are just rolling offensively. They've quickened their tempo this year. You're going to get that from VMI as well, faster paced. And they've got the shooters, Furman, to shred the zone. They play zone, Virginia Military Institute. That could get burned by this really red-hot perimeter shooting Furman team. I like over the total here in this game. I'm staying off the side. Furman's the better team, but it's a lot of points to lay. VMI's been scrappy at times in the underdog role, so I could see them sliding inside the number, but I just don't like betting against Furman. They are so much the superior to most teams in this conference, but I do like this game over the total. I think we get well into the 160s potentially in this one. C-Mac, what do you think here? Furman, VMI.
I think so too. The more I look at it, I think we can get past the 160 as well, even though it's really high. VMI has been scrappy. Didn't cover the other day. I had them 7. They lost by 11. I think this is a similar spot. Furman's way better, and it shows they're 11.5-point favorites. I lean with the points with VMI. I don't love it, but I like that over a little bit more and more. I see it similar to the last game because Furman can get up and score like a 91, 81, something like that. So I agree. I'm going to lean with the over, and I think I'm going to play that one, Furman VMI over 160.
Yeah, it's just offense versus defense. The fit is there, especially for these teams from the three-point line. You look at Furman. They are ranked in terms of three-point shooting. I just had it up here. Where did it go? There we go. 47th in the country, three-point percentage. VMI 302nd three-point defense. So that fits perfectly with Furman. to be able to shoot well and do well. And even on the flip side, Furman is not great in terms of their three-point defense, and VMI can shoot the 29th in three-point percentage for VMI. So you've got long-range shooting that should be effective for both of these teams here in this game with pace. I think it's got a shot here to go over the total, Furman and VMI, both of us liking that. On we go. Next game on the card here is St. Joe's and George Mason. We've got St. Joe's George Mason, 8.5 point home favorites, 148 the total in this game. George Mason is a team that, I think they should win this game. It's obviously been difficult, no question about it, for St. Joe's. It's been a really rough go for them. What can you say? 1-10 on the season, 0-7 straight up on the road. They continue to have just problems, and they keep on waiting for their best player and best scorer to come back, Ryan Daly, and he's still out with that thumb injury. And he just hasn't been able to come back. By the way, St. Joe's over the total, 8-1 in their last 9 road games here. So they have been flying over the total. I cashed an over with them against LaSalle in their last game. LaSalle did a lot of the scoring. St. Joe's actually came back late, made it interesting. But on the road, St. Joe's has given up 90, 80, 83, 85, 102, 88, 81. I mean, they're guaranteed to give up 80 points on the road here. So I think they're going to do that to George Mason. I would lean to the favorite here, George Mason, -8. It's gone up a little, but I agree. The stronger bet for me is over the total here as well, 148. I think it gets there, potentially with room to spare. I mean, you look at George Mason, not necessarily early in the season did they score easily, but they played Dayton, VCU, Richmond, good defensive teams. When they step down in class, they play piss-poor defensive teams. That's why you got to look at individual matchups. George Mason's had some terrible offensive games, against VCU, Dayton, and Richmond, but they're all very good teams, good defensive teams. When they step down in class, they play LaSalle, 75 points they scored. When they played UMass, 93 points they scored. Well, St. Joe's is right there with UMass, right there with LaSalle as terrible defensive teams, weaker teams in this conference. So George Mason should score. St. Joe's should contribute a little as well. They usually have been able to score it with their pace because they play very fast under Billy Lang. They can get into the 70s at least. We get to 150, it cashes, and I think it does. So for me, St. Joe, George Mason, over 148. C-Mac, what do you like in this game?
Yeah, I'd lean the over as well. Like you said, without their best player, without Daly, St. Joe's they're not going to have a hard time until he comes back. I'd lean George Mason. I'm not real high on them. I think the number is a tad bit high, even with how bad St. Joe's is. I like this one around 4 or 5, but I'd lean George Mason, the minus the points, and I'd lean with the over as well. Both teams have been able to score lately, pretty up there. George Mason, it will easily have 80, 85. It's just about St. Joe's. Can they score? And I don't think, George Mason has a very good defense. So I think he can get up and over that 148.5. So yeah, I think the over is good.
I like it a lot. Yeah, I think I might be coming back to this when we do best bet at the end of the show. There you go. So I've given it away, but there you go. I like that total there. Kentucky and Georgia. We've got Kentucky -4. The total right here is around 146.5, 147.5. This is the exact same way I feel about Duke Pitt last night. Kentucky's got to be the better of these two teams, even though they've underachieved. But I'm getting the heebie-jeebies and just the sweats and the fretting starts about the prospect of laying 4 points with Kentucky on the road, just like I felt about Duke last night against Pittsburgh. And what happens? Pitt ends up winning outright as a home underdog. It wouldn't be completely stunning to me to see Georgia win this game here against Kentucky. I mean, that is how much lack of faith I have with Kentucky. Now, they've been competitive. They've been better at times. They had a great first half against Auburn. They had a great first half defensively, but when things started to go against them, Auburn made a run. What's alarming to me is Calipari's team had no response. Once that game got away from them, it was over. And it's like they panicked. They started turning the ball over more, bad shots, breakdowns on the defensive sets, the whole gamut for Kentucky against Auburn when they played a damn good half and a little bit against that Auburn team. And that bothers me. when you're going on the road and you're having these lapses and you're dealing with a little bit of a crisis of confidence, talent-wise, yeah, they're better than Kentucky. And I sure as hell don't think much of this Georgia team this season with the way they've played. But I kind of learned my lesson. I didn't bet the Duke Pitt game, but this is the exact same handicap for me. I'd like to think Kentucky can win the game. They could potentially cover. But are you going to see me trusting them to lay 4 on the road? Hell no. So it's a pass for me. C-Mac, what's your thoughts here? Kentucky, Georgia.
I'm the same way. Just like the Duke one. The only one is I took Pitt in that one. I would take Kentucky, but I'm not. I think they're a little bit better, but no way. I don't want to lay 4 with them right here. Georgia played well. They beat Ole Miss, and Ole Miss just took it to Mississippi State. And Georgia is up and down. They're not very good. They lost a bunch of games there in a row, but they were in them. They lost at LSU by 2. They got blown out by Arkansas. They got blown out by Auburn. They had close games early. They beat Cincinnati. They're not a horrible team. I think the way they've been going up and down, Kentucky's scored more this year lately. I think this could get up and over the total. How we talked about the 148. I think this one is in the high 70s. Maybe low 80s. So I look towards the over in this spot with Kentucky and Georgia, over 146.5.
Yeah, I mean, for Georgia to be lined totals wise at 145 or 146,
bargain a little
seems low. But again, Kentucky just dreadful at times scoring the basketball on the road this year, and that's the one thing holding me back. I wouldn't talk you out of it, but I would look over before under in this game, but. I'm gonna just lay off this game all day. I just got a bad feeling about it. Wake Forest and North Carolina, North Kakalaki, 11.5 point home favorites, 143.5 the total in this game. North Carolina sort of waiting for them to round into form a little bit here with their recent play. They're starting to do that though. This North Carolina team, they returned, of course, Garrison Brooks, Leaky Black and company, really solid basketball team. Expected them to be better this year. They're starting to make progress. They did fall short against Florida State, 82-75 on the road, but you see the way Florida State's playing. No shame in that loss. Now you return home, looking to bounce back here against Wake. Wake's competitive, though. They're feisty. They didn't cover against Louisville, but they did cover against Virginia Tech, 64-60. They covered at Virginia. They covered at Duke. And this is an in-state game. I'd be leery a little bit for as much as North Carolina's played solid ball lately. I'd be leery of laying 11.5. I kind of like the points here with Wake. Like I said, I think we get deeper into conference play. This guy can just flat out can coach. Steve Forbes. They brought him in from East Tennessee State, and you're starting to see Wake, battling games. They're not ultra talented yet. They haven't gotten his recruits yet. Forbes established, but they give you a good effort every night. Their defense is picked up down the stretch. Maybe it keeps them in this game. I'll have a small bet here, Wake plus 11.5. C-Mac, what do you like here?
I'm with you as well, because I had Va Tech the other night, and, man, Wake just stayed in, and a lot of it kind of was the free throws back and forth at the end. But they stayed in that number, so you're getting 11.5. They lost Louisville by 12, Duke by 11, Virginia by 9. And then that first game really they had, because of that huge layoff, was a 16-point loss at Georgia Tech. North Carolina needs a bounce-back game, and this is it against a young Wake Forest. But I think it's too many. Right? In a game like this, it's not one of my favorite looks, but I look to take these points and to lay it in a spot like this. So I like the 11.5 with Wake Forest as well.
All right, we move on now to Tulsa and Houston, AAC matchup. Houston, 12-point favorites here, 12.5 in some spots, 125 the total. Tulsa, look, they've been a point spread machine. I mean, they've really had one stinker, and that was at Wichita State. Other than that, they've been winning games. They've been covering point spreads. We've got this Tulsa team at 7-1 straight up and against the spread in their last 8 games. It has been an impressive run for Frank Haith's team. They've played very, very solid basketball, but here's the issue. Can they handle Houston? Can they compete here on the road against this Houston team? And a Houston team that, are they turning it up a little bit? They might be. Back-to-back games, 71-50 blowout home win against Tulane, 75-58 win against Central Florida in their last game. They are starting to turn it up, play some really, really strong basketball in the last few games, and doing it without, of course, Caleb Mills. and yet they've gotten step-up performances from Quentin Grimes, among others, on this team, which has been impressive to see. Their defense is just staggering how good it is, Houston. They continue to just defend at an incredible pace, 58 and 50 allowed, holding their teams, the last two opponents, to 36% from the field, 36 of 100, 36% shooting. I mean, that is elite defense. And that's what worries me about Tulsa, because I've got that Wichita game stuck in my mind. The only bad game they've had during this stretch, where they shot 23 of 69, and Houston's defense is even better than Wichita's. And you got to do it on the road. So this is a tough game. I don't want to step in front of Tulsa getting all these points with their 7-1 straight up an ATS run. But that one straight up an ATS loss was a game where their offense flat out didn't work against Wichita. And Houston's even better on the defensive end. So maybe you look under. I lean Tulsa, but I just think matchup-wise, I worry that offense is going to stagnate tonight. Connor, what do you think here? Tulsa, Houston?
I lean under too. This one's tough. And I keep thinking back. I watched that first game, and Houston lost to Tulsa. So I think Houston's going to come back and want this one. But at 12.5, I don't know. I think the points, I'm going to take the points here. I mean, it's not one of my favorite looks on the board, but I think it's just too many. I think they're really devaluing Tulsa. And I'm really high on Houston. We've been all year. I think they're just borderline top 10 team. And defensively, they're one of the tops for sure. Yeah. But Tulsa's very good as well. That total is low, but I think when you see a low total and that big a spread, that always catches my eye. So you're going to tell me they're going to win 60-47 or something, you know what I mean, in that realm? That's what, something like that for Houston to cover. I don't think so. I'm going to take the points with Tulsa here, the 12.5.
All right, liking Tulsa here with the 12.5, and again the under, but maybe can avoid that late fouling situation too, which also can help this game stay under the total as well. Chattanooga, Samford, back to the SoCon here with Chattanooga, the Mocs, a slight road favorite, 153 the total. You look at this Samford team; they've actually started to trend under the total a little bit. I don't feel as strongly about the over in this game, but I certainly still lean that way with Chattanooga and Samford in this game. You're talking about they have lowered the totals a little bit for both of these teams, particularly Samford. But you look at Nuga, 4-2 to the over in their last 6 games. They had 163 scored against VMI. They had 179 against Citadel, 163 against Mercer. The last game against Wofford stayed under the total, but they shot uncharacteristically poor, 28-2 out of 56, and they still gave up 77 points against Wofford. I think they'll shoot better against Samford. Don't quite play the defense that Wofford does, and I think it'll creep over this number. I think it's in a good spot, but small bet for me over the total. C-Mac, what's your thoughts here with the Chattanooga-Samford game?
Yeah, I like Samford a little bit this year. I think they played pretty well. I like Chattanooga as well. I like them here. When the line came out, they were +1. Now they're -1.5, -2. I don't like it as much. Samford beat Western Carolina the other day, and a couple of bad losses to Greensboro. I just don't think I lean the over a little bit in this spot, but I like Chattanooga. I just when I see through 0 and it's all the way to 2. It kind of is making me step off it a little bit, but I still lean Chattanooga in this one on the road.
All right, Colorado, Washington in the Pac-12. We've got Colorado 12.5-point road favorites, 144 the total. It's very, very difficult to bet Washington right now. However, a little bit of a pulse from Washington in their last game against UCLA, one of the top teams in the Pac-12, and took them down to the wire just about. 81-76. Lost to the UCLA Bruins in that game. Their defense and Mike Hopkins is going to have to do something with this zone because it's not he learned it under Jim Boeheim at Syracuse as an assistant, and it's just not working here with Washington. They've given up, how about these last few games? They've given up 92, 80, 91, 84, 95, 81 in their last 6 games. 0-6 straight up, 1-5 against the spread in those games. However, the last game was the point spread cover. It's like one of those teams that at some point they're going to be priced so low in everybody's power rating that at some point there's going to be some value on them. But I kind of said that about Kansas State last night, and look what happened against Oklahoma. They get drilled in that game. So difficult here in terms of trusting this Washington team. I think what you can do here is maybe ride the over, because we've seen Colorado 89 and 77 in their last 2 games. Washington's gone over the total in 4 straight. The Washington games aren't priced as high from a total standpoint. I mean, you're talking about a modest number here, 143.5. That's probably the way I would play it here. Colorado, Washington over 143.5, and ride this streak where the Huskies have cashed the over in 4 straight games. C-Mac, what do you think here? Colorado, Washington.
Yeah, I lean the over a little bit too. I'm worried if Washington can score. You talked about it. The K-State couldn't get it done, but Oregon State did. So where's the value? Some of these you don't know these spots. And do you find this weird? Or am I just so? This will be the second time Colorado's going to Washington.
Yeah.
Do you see this on the schedule?
It is. Yeah. It's bizarre. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's.
I know. I'm like. Very strange to go twice during the year. Very weird. I guess all these COVID times, it's just a very weird scheduling spot, because they already beat them by 30 earlier in the year. Man, if Washington had any life, I know they just lost by 5. So they've had 2 games where I've seen something out of them. That was a 3-point loss to Oregon way back on December 12th, and January 16th, that 5-point loss to UCLA. I just am weary about Colorado sleeping a little bit, and I'm so high on them. Really, at home, they're just dominant at home, the Buffs. I'm small play here on Colorado. I'm going to lay the 12.5. It's not one of my favorite looks, but this Washington team is very, very bad. We'll see. Maybe they turn the corner. That's why I'm a little gun shy, because of that UCLA game. That 81-76, they cover that number. So, but Buffalo's just playing. Colorado's just playing really, really well. So I give me the lean on the 12.5 with them.
Yeah, actually, the previous Colorado-Washington game this year was at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. Back in, not a home game for Washington. So I went back and looked, because I'm like, they actually play in Washington earlier this year. No, it was 92-69. That game flew over the total, by the way, 151.
Yeah.
In terms of total points in that game. No, sorry, 161. 92-69. So that's why I definitely like the over here. That's
I do
what
too.
With Washington, Colorado, over 143.5 for me, and I think Conor might add that as well. Providence, Creighton, Creighton 9.5 point home favorites, 145 the total. I think Providence is going to hang around. I know Creighton's off the loss against Butler, and they're going to be looking to bounce back, and it's not easy to go against Creighton at home, especially off a loss. But Zagorowski's banged up for Creighton. He may not play tonight in this game. They obviously miss him, one of their best players. Providence has been good in this bigger road underdog role for years under Ed Cooley. They've given some good teams in the conference tough games on the road. You look at the way they hung tough at Xavier. They beat Seton Hall on the road outright as underdogs. Those are 2 good Big East teams on the road. I think they can give Creighton a game here. And you look at recent series history, Providence and Creighton. Providence has done well head-to-head against Creighton. You have to go all the way back to, I believe, 2 years ago to find the last time Creighton won by margin against Providence. They've just been a tough matchup for Greg McDermott's Blue Jays, matching up against Ed Cooley's Friars. I'm going to go Providence here, plus points, and also over this total of 145. Again, anytime I see Creighton totals at home at 145s, I'm looking at an over. So for me, it's Providence and over the total. C-Mac, what do you like?
This was the toughest one on the card for me, because Creighton's so good at home. They shoot it so well there. You went through the numbers. That's because I went through everything. Providence has just played them like earlier in this year. So tough. I mean, they haven't lost more than 6 in the last 3 years to Creighton. So that's a ton of points. And this is when I always talk about Ed Cooley later on in the year, January, February, his teams play better. I just worry Creighton it buzzsaw and nails all their shots and is just killing it when they're on their home court. this is my last look on the card. I'm leaning with the 9.5 with Providence and the over. I don't know if I'm going to bet it, but that's the only way I could go. I think they could keep it close. I just keep thinking of the record, how much they've kept these games close. It's kind of like Providence has their number a little bit. You know what I mean? They haven't beat them or anything, but over the last few years, they've just played them really, really tough. So I'd lean the points to Providence.
All right. Yeah, that I understand people liking Creighton, because if the Creighton plays like at Seton Hall at home, remember what they did to them in that game. They could romp, but Providence this is usually when Providence against the toughest teams, the best teams, especially on the road, they seem to play their best. It gets the best out of Providence. Hopefully that's the case tonight. And if it does, I think they can hang around. Auburn, Arkansas. Arkansas 6.5 point home favorites, 160.5 the total. I agree with the totals move. I do not agree with the side move here on Arkansas. Arkansas struggling. They're not playing great basketball right now. Yeah, Boston Nick, a little bit of a malfunction there, but that's okay. I'm glad to see you at least got back on the air. That was good. No problem. Good to see you got to finish the show anyway. I believe Chiesa won that too. Yes, he did. I was keeping an eye on that. Next up, so back we go. Auburn, Arkansas. I agree with the totals move. I think we're going to see points. You look at Auburn with Sharif Cooper. They've been a much better offensive team. Arkansas has really had trouble defensively of late. They play fast. You're going to see that here at home. But I don't agree with the side move. Auburn is now 3-0 against the spread with Cooper on the team. They have been very good. They beat Kentucky in their last game. They pounded Georgia before that. It is a different type of Auburn squad. Since they got him, that 5-star freshman, on their team. Revenge game for Auburn. They lost to Arkansas at home earlier this year, and I was on Arkansas at that time. But again, it's when you play the team. Auburn was reeling at the time. They were nothing like the way they played the last few games. Now I think Auburn is the way to go here, plus 6.5. I'm going to go against this line move. I've been riding Auburn, had them on Saturday against Kentucky. I'm going to go with Auburn here, plus the points against an Arkansas team struggling to win it all right now, let alone win by margin. Conor, what do you think? Auburn, Arkansas, SEC action.
I agree. I think the line's a little inflated in the last two games, 92-76 to LSU, and then the beatdown by Alabama. I mean, how about Alabama last night? Wow. Team was
my regret is I didn't bet it larger than I did, because I'm like,
I wish I did too. Shit.
They're the best team in the SEC right now. It's not Kentucky. It's not Tennessee. Stop bringing those teams up. Alabama's the best damn team in that conference right now, and there's no other answer.
Yep, Nate Oates has got them. All the talk he was saying that these kids are that good is coming true. They really are. In this one, I think the line's a little bit too high. I don't blame people. I think Arkansas is just middle of the road SEC team, and the big one, as you brought up, is Cooper, Sharif Cooper. I think he's the difference maker. If you're going to give me 6 here, I think it's just a bargain. And we got our guy, Matt Randall, in here. It's his taint play of the day. Totally back it. You back it, I'm sure. I love the points here. Give me the +6 with Auburn. I like this spot a lot.
And the good thing about having a guy like Cooper is even if you fall behind in a game like they did against Kentucky, they fell behind like they did and like they might tonight against Arkansas, because you would think Arkansas is going to come out fire, and they've had a rough run. They have played well at home. Cooper's a guy that can shoot them back into a game. They didn't have that kind of offensive weaponry before. It gets you right back into the game if you're down 10-12. He can get you going and feeling good and right back in the game. So huge for this Auburn team. Next up, we've got Bradley, Illinois State. Bradley -9 on the road here, 140.5, 141 the total in this game. Bradley's just a team I don't make a point of betting against them. They're very good. They're certainly one of the top teams in the Missouri Valley. It's not been a great year for Illinois State, although they have started to cover some numbers. It's just, I'd rather just stay away. I like Bradley enough. I don't want to bet against them. You could argue maybe there's a touch of value on the Redbirds here as a home dog, but I'm not going to get involved in that game. Conor, what do you think here? Bradley, Illinois State.
Yeah, I think the look is Bradley. When it gets to this number, they're not at home. I don't love laying it, but I'd lean with them. Illinois State's just not very good this year, even at home, catching 9. If they were playing a little bit better ball, I'd love to take the 9 here, but I think Bradley's that much better than them right now. I'd lean the -9 with Bradley.
All right, we got Northwestern Wisconsin. Wisconsin 11.5 point home favorites, 135 the total. I thought that was going to be a rally the troop spot for Northwestern at home against Iowa on Sunday, and they just were completely outclassed in the second half of that game. That's the last time I'll be looking toward the Northwestern side for at least a period of time. For me, it's the favorite or pass. Wisconsin or nothing for me in this game. I didn't bet it, but would only be the favorite for me. What do you think, C-Mac?
I agree. I'm gonna have a small play on it. I like Wisconsin. It's a little bit. Wish it was maybe 8.5 or 9.5, but I think they win this one. That when it gets to 11.5, I just worry about that's just in the range of 14 or 15. You hit a backdoor 3, something like that. Northwestern just has been good on the road. Will they get out of their funk? Was that just the kind of a lucky start to their year? I think they're more of the the team like they're playing now. Than what they were earlier. It's tough for me because I'd like to take 11.5, but I think I have to lay it here with Wisconsin. So yeah, Wisconsin or pass.
Yeah, Fresno State, Boise State 14.5 point home favorites, 139 the total. This Boise State team is just insane. I mean, I knew they'd be up there in the Mountain West with your San Diego States, your Utah States, your Colorado States, but what they're doing is incredible against the number. I mean, you look at these, they're just demolishing teams. Blowout wins by 24 or more against New Mexico. Blowout wins again 106-54 against San Jose State. They beat up Air Force by 19. The rematch, they beat up Air Force by 11. That's the one they didn't cover. And then back-to-back at Wyoming, who are a young team, but I think an improving, well-coached team, they win by 20 and 23. I mean, that's what Boise is doing right now, the teams. And Fresno might be they're closer to Air Force and San Jose State and New Mexico in this conference than they are the top part of the conference. I'm laying it here, and I don't do this very often, lay this many points, but I think Boise, they just rolled Wyoming by 20+ at home. Certainly, they're capable of rolling Fresno at home by at least 20 points. I'm laying it here with the Broncos here. Conor, what do you like here? Fresno, Boise?
Yeah, I can only look one way. And I've stayed off Boise a little bit lately because the spreads have been just a little bit too big. But there's only one way to look here, and it's Boise State. I think they cover the number. Yeah. It's there though. This is right where I put it. If it was 18 or something, I couldn't take. But I think at 14 or 15, I think you're okay. I think Boise can cover it.
They've shown me nothing on the road. Fresno, nothing. Colorado State lose by 22. The rematch at Colorado State lose by 22. At Nevada lose by 16. Rematch at Nevada lose by 14. So they've lost every road game in Mountain West play by 14. And you could say Nevada and Colorado State, in my opinion, they're better than Fresno. Yeah, maybe it's shorter than maybe it should be. It's kind of always you're right, Jansen. Why isn't this number a little bit higher? But damn it, I gotta look Boise here. In this game. And I bet against Fresno State a lot. I've been against Fresno a bunch this year and have cashed more often than not. So I've had a good read of when to step in and fade this Fresno team. And I'm going to do so again here in this one with Boise. Nothing for me on the added board today. I know there are a few games, but there's not really a whole lot that stuck out to me, Conor. Anything for you with the added board games?
Just a couple to look at. Yesterday, the Presbyterian, the Blue Hose, got a crazy backdoor cover. Winthrop had that game, and man, they slipped in a turnover and then a layup. It was 14. I'd go with Winthrop here. I don't love it, but I'd lay it with 16 with them. A little bit with Longwood. I just think they're better than High Point. And this one, I liked Asheville yesterday, but I'd stay away there. I still think they're better than Gardner-Webb, but I'd stick with the Asheville. Those are my only kind of leans. I might play one of them, but just the leans on the added board.
All right, just some leans on the added board. We'll
Sorry
get to that.
Oh, no, the game didn't go off, the Winthrop game. I thought that game went off. Talking about it, I'm like.
No, that one is coming up, though, 5 p.m. Eastern. That one tips off. All right, before we get to best bets, Conor Mack, a word from our sponsors.
Yeah, just go to mybookie.ag, hit promo code PubSports. If you use your debit or credit, you get 50% off your order. If you use Bitcoin, you get 100%. So you put in 1,000, they give you 1,000. If you put in 1,000, they give you 500 debit or credit. And the minimum, you just got to put in $100 to do that. So just minimum $100 when you deposit. And that's it today. Oh, go to bulksupplements.com. Hit them up. Get 5 to 10% off your order. Get all the vitamins, all that good stuff. You need creatine, protein, all that stuff. Just hit promo code PubSports to get that as well.
All right, there we go. Best bets, Conor. What do you got?
Man, oh man, you go ahead first.
I basically gave it away earlier in the show. We're gonna go with that St. Joseph's George Mason over 148. I like that one quite a bit. I was on St. Joe's LaSalle over the total. Didn't even have to sweat that one. That one just sailed right over the number with Joe and LaSalle the other day. I think Joe and Mason will also get up and over the total. That's my best bet. St. Joe's George Mason over 148. Conor, go for it.
I was gonna do the total, but I won't. I'll go with what I felt strongest from the most earlier in the day. I'm gonna take Auburn in the 6 points. I think they can win it outright there. So 6 points. I'm riding with my guy Matt Randall. I like Auburn +6. I think they could have a chance to win it outright as long as Cooper's there. I think they hang in this ball game. I don't think going to Arkansas is that big of a deal, with Auburn. So +6 Auburn.
Revenge for Auburn. They've got their best player back on the floor. They're the better team in better current form right now than Arkansas. So, yeah, I'm with you on that one as well. Auburn +6.5. Conor Mack's best bet. That'll wrap up the show. Thank you to everyone for tuning in. I'm going to get a little 5-minute break in, and then I'm coming right back with Ski Profit for the NBA closing time show, and we'll break down this big Wednesday NBA card. Conor and I will be back with you tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, for another edition of the college basketball closing time show. For Conor Mack, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday night. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Enjoy the games and good luck. We'll see you tomorrow for another edition of the college basketball closing time show right here on Pub Sports Radio.